Martin Luther King, and as a matter of fact, this show is entitled The Assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, as we've indicated during that first segment, we've already talked about this and everything that you said about it, and joined others in talking about it. But let's talk about the assassination of Dr. King.
Okay, I should say that this is an ongoing investigation. We still don't have answers to some of the questions that have been raised since the assassination. We know that in 1999, the King family filed a wrongful death suit against Lord Giles in Memphis. Giles, of course, was a Memphis businessman who claimed that he had contacted and financed the person who assassinated Dr. King. So they filed a suit, a wrongful death suit, and we know that the court in Memphis decided on, in favor of the King family. And they decided that the death of Dr. King did result from a conspiracy, and of course the King family was awarded $100. Now, what we should say about that, of course, is that it was symbolic, and it was also an attempt on the part of the King family to get the federal government to reopen the investigation into the assassination of Dr. King, because there are so many unanswered questions. What about the ballistic test on the weapon that was used? Why were policemen in Memphis who were assigned to protect Dr. King, why were they absent on April 4th, 1968? What about Raoul? James Earl Ray claims that his movements were financed and masterminded by a guy by the name of Raoul. What about him? We haven't found out anything about him. And also, we need to keep in mind that the FBI squad that was assigned to destroy Dr. King, codenamed Zorro, Z-O-R-R-O, that same FBI squad was designated to investigate the assassination of Dr. King.
The same group that was supposed to be directed to kill him also.
Yeah, the code name Zorro was used for the squad when it was designed, designated to destroy Dr. King, Z-O-R-R-O. But once Dr. King was assassinated, that same FBI squad took the name Murkin, M-U-R-K-I-N, Murder King, of course, and they were assigned and directed to investigate the murder. So there are so many questions that we have. There were witnesses who were never interviewed. And I mentioned the ballistic test on the gun. Of course, we haven't gotten any final results on that yet that are conclusive. So there are so many questions that we have that have not been answered, and one wonders if we will ever know the truth about the assassination of Dr. King. But I think it's more important now to make sure that his legacy is preserved and advanced, because the same people who set out to destroy him are now trying to define what his legacy should be in the American society, and that's what we have to be most concerned about.
And that is really a problem, because if they attempt, the same group killed him, investigated, and now it wants to determine exactly his legacy, that you got to be suspicious in reference to all of that.
Yes, and that's problematic. I think we still feel the impact of Dr. King's assassination. We have to understand that when he was killed, the impact was felt worldwide. Pope Paul VI, church leaders from the World Council of Churches and other national and international church groups sent condolences. Dr. King's death had a great impact on the world, and I think we still feel that impact. But my point is that because I doubt that we will ever get the full story, all of the facts regarding his assassination, I think we need to now turn to this idea of promoting and preserving his legacy, to make sure that that legacy is not domesticated.
And I think that when you look at Dr. King within the United States of America, he also has grown in stature because of the memorial. Why don't you say something in reference to that?
Yes, yes. You know, we had the holiday, the King holiday was voted in 1983, and the first national holiday was celebrated in January 1986. Since that time, of course, we have the King Monument in Washington, D.C. So King has become something of a national icon. We honor him, we celebrate him on his birthday, and of course you have the monument in Washington, D.C. You have Jefferson's monument there, some of the other monuments, and King, of course, is there also. I think what it means, of course, is that King has become an iconic figure. He represents the best in the American dream and in the American tradition of creative dissent. Because as you well know, our tradition, as far as our Constitution and Declaration of Independence are concerned, is all about dissent, you know, and protest against government and laws that are unjust. So I think Dr. King represents that, and that monument in Washington, D.C. is a symbol of the fact that he represented the best in the tradition of American democracy and creative dissent.
And of course, Dr. Baldwin, I think one of the most important things, and I think we can make some statements in reference to that now and devote some time to it during the final segment. One of the most important things is that King, within the framework of the Voting Rights Act of 1965,
yes.
and when we come back, we want you to evaluate what went on in reference to that and how Dr. King probably would have reacted to all of these things and the importance of what the court has in a real sense done to the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Exactly.
Because when we talk about King's legacy, we certainly have to talk about that. And I think it's just about time for somebody like you to give us some official information in reference to the act and what we have to do in order, because I think that it again calls for the kind of protest that Dr. King led and that you were a part of, and et cetera, and that things are getting worse in a real sense in terms of officially the rights that people have, not only Africans, but the rights that all Americans have in terms of speech and assembly and voting and et cetera.
Exactly.
These were all of the things that Dr. King dedicated his life to.
Exactly.
And so what we want to do when we come back is to have you to simply go full force
to talk about that. What's happening now.
What's happening now. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.